All right, so now that I have a couple of quests set up in my game, I want to go over how to change different characters' dialogue, change their conversations based on the status of quests. And just like, almost everything in game development, there's a whole bunch of different ways we could deal with this. The main question, I think, is do we want to make a new conversation altogether? So this right here is called James Intro, and it's a conversation. And I could make a new conversation and try to switch to that new conversation instead of this conversation once you've completed the I forget what my quest was called, situation at hand, right? That's one way I could do it. Or I could just operate within this existing conversation here, and kind of like make a new branch that only happens based on a condition. So I could go in here and add a condition and hit plus, and I could say this situation at hand has to be completed, and the other one has to be active. Maybe you don't even really technically, I don't need this one, because there's no way for the other quest to be active unless this one's completed. But it just kind of depends on the nuances of your logic, and I guess I will make this like combination condition just to show you how you could have a multiple conditions working together to govern whether this gets pursued. And so I'll just say like new dialogue. And so if I run my game, in theory, so I'll go through this whole one first, right? Rather than clicking through it, I'm going to use the watch feature to just set situation at hand to success and set the next one to active. And now I would expect him to say new dialogue. Oh my gosh, it didn't. What did I do wrong? I think the problem is that I would also have to add a condition to that other one. Where is it? Conversation. So this condition was met, but this one doesn't even have any conditions, so the game doesn't really know which one to do. You can click on the links and set priorities, but like this trick will only work once. As soon as I had another branch based on the status of a different quest, I can't have them all be high priority. Then I'll just run into the same problem. So instead what I'm going to do is click on this one, and I'm going to make a condition that says that the situation at hand is active. That's going to be the condition for this one. And I'm going to actually go ahead and change this. I'm going to make it so that for this one, the open the garage has to be active. And so if the situation at hand is active, we'll go down this way. If open the garage is active, we'll go that way. Let's test it out. So right off the bat, I expect the normal one. Cool, it works. Let's run it again and use the watch feature to set situation at hand to success and open the garage to active. And hopefully it works this time. New dialogue. Cool. All right, so that's probably the most straightforward way to do it. However, you could have a situation where if you have a more complicated enough game that there's like mini quests, and therefore this one conversation just gets chaotic, I guess you could say. And if that's the case, it might be easier to make multiple conversations instead. So what I would do is I could call this one like James, open the garage. This is the conversation I want to use during the open the garage quest. And we'll just make some quick text here. So he'll just tell us what dialogue he's on so that we can understand what's happening as we test this. So now we need a way to switch from the initial conversation to this new one. And if you remember how we set the initial conversation to begin with, there is this thing here called a dialog trigger. There it is. And the dialog system trigger component on the NPC. So you've got James the model. If I expand James the model, I have the NPC prefab. And on that, there is the dialog system trigger. And it is set to James intro. So I would need a way to switch this to a new conversation. And again, there's probably, like, I could write custom code to do that. There might be a way in script to do it, like in the Lua script here. But I also think what I could try to do is add some conditions to this one. So you see it has conditions. If I expand conditions, I can look at quest conditions and I say, okay, if situation at hand is active, then I'm going to do this. And then what I could do, I think, is just add another dialog system trigger. I think this would work. We'll find out. And what I would do here is add a quest condition. I'm going to set the quest condition to 1 so that there's a drop down here. But you could make as many as you wanted. And I want to say open the garage is active. Then what am I going to do? We are going to start a conversation. And it's going to be James open the garage. I think I set that up right, hopefully. So let's look at the trigger. Trigger on use. Is that how this one is set up to? Trigger on use. All right. Let's give it a shot. So I'll hit play. I should see the normal dialogue. That's cool. All right, let's try to complete that quest and start the other quest. So I will go to, well, you know what though? Well, never mind. I was going to say we won't know what's going on because I'm changing the dialogue in both in the conversation. If I go over here and I choose James intro, yes, it says new dialogue here, but in James open the garage, it says this is dialogue during open the garage quest. So I need to make sure I see this line to understand that it's working. So I'm going to go in here. Open the garage is active. Situation at hand is success. Let's go talk to James and see what happens. There it is. So that worked too.